I'd never see anybody.
Oh, you can't see anybody?
Just you.
Okay. Well, I'll say hello. Hopefully I'm not
On.
just got us plugged in. And I apologize again because with certain dinosaurs, I don't even know how to turn their phone on. And we have to do this 2 or 3 times to get it. But anyway.
Remind people not to call or text.
Huh?
Remind people not to call or text us.
Yeah, and please, we can't, the phone won't deal with phone calls or texts while we're online, while we're on live this way. So we'll have to hold things till after. And maybe questions, Molly will get them today, and if we can't get to them to answer them, we'll get them the following Sunday for sure. But anyway, I thought about a bunch of things, and I suppose the virus brought them up, and somehow I think they would come up anyway. Their thoughts are in my mind often. And sometimes when I'm wandering around, they just keep going through. So there's 2 or 3 things that I think seem really important to us. Is that in surrender, we went over it last week, is to think about it, because it is not giving up, it is giving over. When you enter that state of surrender, the power of creation is fully there with you all the way. There is no physical strength on this earth bigger than that. And force will never give it to you. So surrender's a beginning. You can't surrender when we're full of all kinds of thoughts and ideas. Another thing is that perhaps this virus is an opportunity. As hard as it may be, the whole human race is being asked to stop and slow down and look deep at life. Perhaps ask what is really important to us. Family is number 1. It's not about being busy. It's about being with family, with one another. It's about being home when you need to be home and have the time and the quiet to be with family. And then also having the time and the quiet to be with oneself. And in one deep way, this whole thing is saying to finally go home and be quiet and comfortable with oneself, doing what feels like nothing. And yet, if you look at that in a different manner, when you close your eyes or find a quiet place and sit in real quiet and let all the questions go, and you look at entering the heart, that's what the old master said when he said, or meant when he said, go into the closet, close the door, and be still. When I go into the closet, close the door, and be still, I am here in the sacred heart, the center of your soul. There you are with God, or whatever name you choose to use in wherever we are in the world, for God, for love. There are so many names, but it's right here. You set with. You don't need to ask questions Everything you need to know will be known to you. The rest isn't even relevant. And it's an uncanny feeling to be there because of that stillness. However, it's perhaps one of the most important things we can do right now. When you are here, you will know. When you are here, you will cease to know. Once we become frantic, we lose total direction. If we are going to quiet the storm, calmness quiets the storm and empowers you. So that's a part of this, is about building family, building quiet, and then it's about building community too. You have family, then you have the extended people around you, which become community, and then that community touches other communities. The community needs to now extend around the entire world. We are all connected as a people, whether we know it or not. It's time to build community again, an interconnectedness with all people, to share what we have. When you really think about this, there is abundance. All it is a matter of distribution. And moving things around. So those bases could get covered. It's for sure. And then there's this thing we call money. I've looked at it for a long time. And I've known a lot of Native people in my life, or indigenous people. They are really smart people. And I have deep respect for their cultures. And generally speaking, they have always been quiet, content, and deep family-oriented people, and community also. And if you go back in time, just to the basis when this country first person stepped off that boat, the people they were looking at were well over 100 years old. That is not a myth. The evidence is in a book we have in one of our libraries of Native stories that came out of the Spanish archives, and there's a lot out there. So a part of this really for me too is what we believe. So they didn't have money, but they had an amazing life. Well, the peculiar thing about the virus, money means nothing to that. It doesn't matter how much one has, whether you get 10 cents or 10 billion. If it hits you, it hits you. Say a prayer. All the money in the world won't save us. So in another sense, stopping at this point in time is perhaps the most beautiful thing we have and the grandest opportunity you have. And it's not to panic. When we panic, then you can watch the stock market crash. If everybody sits still and quiet, things will level out. And when we come out the other side, it will balance out again without a great deal of trouble in it. We don't have to go through all of those struggles. But it's about maintaining our integrity and to realize that money will never buy you peace. It cannot buy you your life. It cannot make you happy. And once we get through there, I think there are so many things we can do right now. There are opportunities here, and as you travel across the country and around the world, those opportunities shift because of what's going but it's spring here. So in springtime, there's some beautiful things getting ready because everything's going to start to grow and turn green. The birds are making their nest. The buds on the trees are soon going to start to swell. And then the leaf will open, the flowers will bloom. Those are things that you have time to watch. How many have taken the time to watch a leaf and closed bud open on a tree? It's like this. If I can't do it quite with my hands, but my hands like this is a bud of a tree. And if you can imagine this, that bud, the leaf is completely full right there. And what it does is it just unfolds and opens. And you have a whole leaf. It's just small. And then it grows to a complete, till it's all whole. But it's completely whole in the thing. Have you ever watched a rose bloom or other flower? It takes time. You can take the kids out every day and get them excited about those things. You can begin to study, and on the internet, if you don't have books, you can find all the information that will tell you what each flower, each tree, and everything is. Those are some simple things, and we'll post a bunch of things on this Facebook page to help people with children and even with themselves to look at stuff like this. So those are a lot of things that we can do. And when we're doing things are quiet, our mind isn't on what we're facing. It's not to ignore it. It is to recognize it and then make conscious decisions to bring balance back to our life. So if we look, community is so important to us. Family is so important to us. Peace is amazing, but peace is here. Heaven is here. It's all around us, but we can't access it when we're here. You gotta go here every day. You gotta learn to breathe again every day. You gotta learn what we have every day in gratitude. You gotta see it every day this way, in humbleness. Begin to look at those precious moments. To listen to that little child just chattering away, just learning a voice. So those are, let me see, I might be a little lost. Those are a few things that I was thinking about for sure. And I truly believe that we can cross this bridge. And environmentally, we have already taken quantum leaps. Water quality shifting, air quality is taking great leaps. And I do believe the carbon, I don't quite know how they put it, but that's made great changes too. So we're gaining somehow. And they always said to me once in a while, there are days when the hill gets steep and it's a slow, hard climb. Maybe throughout this period of time, we're going to be going uphill. However, if we all connect together, hand to hand and heart to heart, we'll cross over the top of that hill. Without question. And then when it comes to the caregivers, you have to realize that they're right on the front line. And they're in it every single day of the week. There is no way that they can get away. Or in anybody working in that kind of a place. It is at these points in time that all of us, all together, need to hold them high and make sure they understand that our hearts and souls are with them and they are being held. think that's important to us all, because all of us are here in this together. We may not be able to see each other. We may not be able to touch each other. We may not be able to give a hug. And I will be the first to admit that my daughter lives about 600 feet away on this small farm. And for 2 weeks, I haven't walked through the door of the house and said, hello, April, or hello, Noah, because she's only about 6 miles away. I will tell you for sure, I miss that awfully, and there's not much we can do. However, we can have a great gathering when this is over. So, there's a few steps, and if I'd have to think a little bit to find some more at this moment in time. But maybe without thinking and trying to find more to talk about, I think we had enough. Because we talked a little bit about money. And there is another thing about it too that's interesting to me. And that jarred a word. It's called belief, or belief system. If you look at a belief system, it basically leads you down a lane that often doesn't work. Oftentimes, maybe right now, this is an opportunity for the entire world to check its own belief system and ask what's really true. You have to admit right off the bat, the only value there is in money is the value we put on it. If you take a $1 bill, they say it's worth 100 pennies. That's because that's what we decided. And we decided 1 penny was 1 cent. All it really is a belief. It has no power. Period. It's an exchange system. A fair and equitable change system that says thank you for something kindly given or shared. It's kind of like somebody building you a pair of front steps, and then you give them money, and it's a gift. It's saying thank you for that precious pair of stairs, or it's saying thank you for the doctor helping you bring balance back to a body. There's so many thank yous, and that's what its use is. Beyond that, piling it up in great big heaps amounts to nothing. If we have community, we have life. And then there's another piece that I ran into that I guess it just occurred to me, and it's not, I never said this. I found it through a friend of mine, and I know he doesn't mind me mentioning his name, Nate, because we spend a bit of time together, except right now we're not. But anyway, he's a merchant marine, and he was somewhere in the islands in the, I guess, in the Pacific, and he was talking to a person, and his name is Haymau. And Haymau he's an elder, and he's also a native over there, and it's been there forever with his family. And anyway, his mother said to him once, Haymau, look all around you. Everything you need is right here. You're rich. They didn't have any money, but they had everything they needed. And then later on, when Nate talked to him, he was doing tourist tours, and one of the tourists said something to him about a watch or a clock or whatever. And Haymau looked at him. He said, you have watch, I have time. How many of you can do that? How many can put the clock down, turn it off? When you get hungry, it's time to eat. When you get tired, it's time to sleep. Perhaps that's a beautiful thing. And we have time to work that now. We have time to go home and be at peace with ourselves and think about what you have right there in front of you. And if you need help, then we need to find help. And help will come. That's what this is all about. So I would like to maybe close with a meditation, if you don't mind. And so in meditation, I always like to go to the breath in and the breath out. You consider the breath in as a gift of life to you. The breath out is your gift back to life. So your breath in, the trees breathe out oxygen, and you breathe out carbon dioxide. They breathe in the oxygen. Yeah, they breathe in the carbon dioxide and exchange it with oxygen. It's an intimate relationship between us and all of the green people. We call the green people the trees and the grasses and the shrubs and all of that. That's our exchange. It's a deep interconnection with all of Earth and all of life and the great cosmic mother. This is home. While you're breathing, consider this. Where I lay down is home. Whether it's here in this little place or up back on a log, is home. My mother will never hurt me. I only have to learn to understand her. So while you breathe the breath in and the breath out, with each breath let go of thought. Just let go and see where it takes you. And today, perhaps it's just about letting go. So with the breath in, you let go. With the breath out, you release again. And when a thought enters, continue letting go. Let go of all of the things that are entering and see what comes. So continue the breath and the letting go.
Question.
You might have to, I can't read that, Nancy.
We'll finish your mat.
So then just continue your breath. Just follow the breath. And today, let it take you where it will. The breath in and the breath out. It's not about walking any place. It's about walking home. His home. In the center of my own being. Often the place we know the least. Right here. It's like if we're going to dive. We're going to dive in. Not out. I'd like to leave you there for a minute or two. And then Nancy found a couple questions on the bottom of the screen, and I'll see if I can figure out how to answer them. I hope.
That's what Pam go.
Have to pass facing her. Which is ego and which is surrender? How can I get to a place which I can recognize which is which? Aha. I'm going to read this question or a little bit of it to you, and I think it may be important to all of us because it's a beautiful question. You have two paths in front of us. One is the ego, one is surrender. How do we get to the place where we can recognize which one is which? Think about this for a second. My ego lives here. Totally. The biggest problem I have in life is walking right at the top of my brain all the time. It's my little man. And here is the power of creation, and I need to get to it. The one thing that I have found, and it's something I have to play with, and everybody else does too, until you figure it out. Someday the ego dies. But while we have it, honor it. So when you are doing the breath, with every breath, you let go. What you're doing is you're embracing, and you're quieting. The mind likes quiet. And I'll have Nancy remind me of the conscious breath when I'm done. But anyway, when you're quiet, you think about those two paths. Think about the ego generally creates some form of disturbance. When there is a disturbance, there is no peace. Surrender brings you quiet. One good way to do surrender is you can do it sitting down or standing up. You breathe, stop, and place that question in your mind, surrender. How do I enter? You breathe the breath in, you breathe in hard. Out. And each time you do that, you're letting go. What happens is the mind will begin to empty and you'll drop it into the heart. And I am pretty sure you will find your answer. And you do that throughout the day, and you will find the difference between the ego and surrender, which takes you to quiet. And so the ego creates disturbance. Surrender creates absolute peace and quiet. Thank you.
I see.
So then the conscious breath is something like that. However, the conscious breath is, right now, we have a lot of time by the clock. Oh, and by the way, there is no real such thing as time. Time is man-made, created by us. We created a clock, and then we believe in the clock. However, nothing else in creation goes by time. So the conscious breath is you follow the breath in and you follow the breath out, and you do it, but you work towards 1 full minute throughout a given day. We always would say in the beginning, you do the conscious breath for 1 minute of every waking hour of the day. However, the first breath you'll get and you'll be doing okay. The second breath you might get and you're going okay. And then partway into the third breath, let's say my mind takes off and goes to the races. Let your mind go to the races and you always say thank you. And the next time you think of it, you come back to the conscious breath and you do the same thing, and you do it over and over and over and over. And you never, and I shouldn't use the word often, but you never ever push the mind. You got to remember, force will not work. It will make it 10 times worse, and it will take quantum leaps in the backwards direction. That's why, thank you. What happens is the mind finally realizes that quiet is really important to it. As a facilitator, the mind needs quiet too in order to rest. It needs space. So it slowly joins. I like the word join up. So the mind finally joins the heart. And then we have a beautiful balance, because the heart becomes the director. The mind is a perfect facilitator because it can do anything the heart asks. It doesn't matter what it is anymore. And it has amazing guidance because everything is in flow. So just try the conscious breath while we're going. Is any other questions coming up?
Not that I see.
So, you know what? I can't hear you, and I can't see you, and there's no other questions, and the phone isn't ringing. So, what we can do
I may have missed some.
And we apologize again. At this point, we're going to continue doing this at noon every Sunday, and would you please spread it around for us? And if you have questions, send them, put them on Facebook or something and we'll find them. Or Molly can get them. And anyway, and then we'll answer them the following week. And if we can if there's any better way to do this, you'll let us know. Right now, the only thing we have is this phone. We don't have computer access at this moment. So for the day, I would like to close for now and thank you so much for joining us. And if you would spread this around and you want to tell people, they just go to Facebook, bring up Teaching Lodge, and then push go live. You don't need to friend anything.
One more.
Oh, we got another question.
Molly,
Can
you talk, we miss our family and our friends. Can you talk about how we are not ever alone?
Oh, we miss our family and friends. And how do you see? So, you know what? We really are never alone. And it sounds odd to say that. When we work together, if we reach out right now, the left and the right, and say, Molly, take my hand, and John, take my hand, and then you take a hand and the other takes a hand. We just connected hands. We are making one huge, amazing circle. Granted, it's on an energetic level, but what you have to finally realize is we're all energy. And if we do this, it will grow and will connect so deeply that when we physically get together, it will be really amazing. And we're all united as one when we do this. Say thank you and grace. I love you so. I think Mother's got something else.
That's our email questions to this.
Oh, the questions you send questions to teachinglodgemaine@gmail.com. You got to realize, you're looking at a dinosaur that hasn't even got out of the egg yet. I've been trying to crack it. And this is, you also need to know that
You have helpers?
for all of you, you are stretching me and I am growing as much as you. And so I'll see if I can break that egg loose between now and next Sunday. So if you don't mind, I'll see you next Sunday. I love you so, all of you. So anytime you need a hand, you call us. You put our name in there and a hand will be there. Millions of them. We love you all deeply. Aho. Togama.
Messages.